Yeah, less is more.
Definitely.
That makes sense. I have one other thing that I would say based on my experience, and is I think it's someplace in a secure place you want to keep a list of all of your accounts, because that's the one thing I found the hardest.
That's exactly right.
I probably had store cards and stuff like that I hadn't used for a really long time. I didn't even have account information on them.
And
so I'm
going
still
one
waiting.
step further, that's a great point to make. And even going one step further, not even just having a list, but actually making a photocopy. Make a
that's
copy
a good idea.
of the credit card,
That's
the front
a
and the back.
very good idea.
Right. And have
so
those.
that you have a way of contacting them. What a great idea.
And keep those. Make those copies, really quick, and keep them somewhere in that lockbox where you keep all your important documents. So if it does, like what happened to you, if that ever happens, you have that information. You're able to call up everybody that's on the list. Exactly.
That's a really good idea. Well, we have a question from a viewer that that's related to what we're actually talking about. And she writes, I worry about using my credit card or debit card in public, which you should. What can I do to help make sure I keep the information on these secure?
Well, you just really want to be aware. You want to be aware of your surroundings. If you're using your account or your card and you're out at the store or you're in a restaurant or something, you want to know what's happening. Especially, I mentioned restaurants. If a server walks away with your card, you want to be sure. See if you can see where they're going. There's
what they're doing
with it. Exactly. If you're in the store, be aware of who's behind you. Is anybody over your shoulder? They call it shoulder surfing, trying to read your numbers off of your card. Even at the ATM.
That's a really good point.
You want to make sure that you know what's around. You're aware of your surroundings. You're shielding your card whenever you can. And it goes for all of your personal information, that you use to complete transactions in public. So if the person over the counter needs your phone number even to complete a transaction, it's not something that you just want to blurt out.
No.
You really, I think it comes down to just being aware, understanding what's happening around you as you're using your accounts in public.
And thinking about it before you give it information out.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. It's definitely on a need-to-know basis.
Right. In researching for the show, I found that a growing trend in identity theft is children having their identities stolen.
Yeah.
That's not a good thing.
Yeah, not at all.
Could you tell us just exactly how common is it and how does that work?
It's very common. It's sadly common. Every year, between 500,000 and 750,000. It's a lot.
Wow.
Children have their identities stolen. It's huge. It's so big. And it's very, very sad, but it's very, very common. It's much more common than it used to be. Hundreds of thousands of children have their identities stolen every year. Thieves. And it's because children are typically issued Social Security numbers.
Right. Anymore. That's
when
true.
They're born. Right.
Yeah, they have been for a while.
And so thieves steal those numbers, or they're wanting to steal those numbers. They're apt to steal those numbers from children because they're clean. They're brand new.
And it's also the gateway again. We were talking about.
Exactly. Right. It's the gateway. So they'll use that information, those Social Security numbers that they steal, to, again, create new identities, to get services, all that sort of thing. So child identity theft is big.
How can we go about protecting our child's identity?
Well, I think just like we're protecting our own, I think that you want to make sure that you're keeping information that's got your child's Social Security number on it. You're keeping that information locked away.
Right.
It's somewhere safe in a secure place. It's not just laying out for anybody to see. You're not just giving it out. Right. And if you do, if there really is a legitimate need, I think as parents, we still should follow up with questions. Why do you need this? What is it being used for? How is it going to be protected once I give it to you?
Is it necessary?
Is it really necessary? Exactly.
Right.
So I think that those are steps as parents that we really have to take to protect our child's information. We really, really do.
That makes full sense. One thing I wondered, as far as in hearing about children having their identity stolen, is how that happens. I mean, or how you can even find out about it from the standpoint. It seems like, your children are not going up and looking at their credit reports all the time. They aren't really using their Social Security number probably that much when they're young.
Right. And that's really the unfortunate thing about it, because it happens usually when they're young. Typically that 500 to 750,000 50,000 children number that I threw out at you, most of those children are under the age of 6.
That's amazing.
When that theft occurs, right?
Yeah.
So the unfortunate part about it is that it's a long time,
before it's ever
discovered, right?
Yeah.
So because our children, until they're maybe 18 or 21, they're not, like you said, they're not using their credit, or they don't have cause to try to access it or that kind of thing. So thieves have had years and years and years, to use their identity. So pulling our credit reports, understanding that the information that's there or not there in the case of our children,
their kids.
right, is what we need to know. So we do still want to attempt to access. If you pull up your child's social security number and there's information, then you know that something's happened. But you're not going to know without taking that step to do it.
Are there other warning signs that they may have become victims of identity theft?
Yeah, I think if you or your child get mail, for services, or products that you didn't apply for, even something like Medicare or something like that, that you haven't applied for, that's a way to know. If something comes, like say from the IRS, maybe in the name of your child that says their taxes owed, you'll know that maybe somebody has used your child's identity, right? Exactly, and maybe they aren't paying taxes, or they've gotten a job and they haven't done the things that they were supposed to do. So there are those kinds of signs.
If you're denied benefits, I would think that would be another one.
That's a perfect one. Speaking of the government, if you apply for benefits, say governmental benefits, and you're denied, and the government responds to you and lets you know that no, we can't give you these because these benefits are already being paid, to this person, right, or to somebody with this number. That's how you know that maybe your child's been a victim.
Well, it seems like also sometimes you get an inkling just from what you're told.
Those kinds of things we have to be mindful of. And the school and the doctor, those are perfect examples, because we're hearing so much about that. Security breaches and hacking and all of this kind of thing. So if you get some information like that, you really want to be, diligent about making sure, that your child wasn't a victim.
And for those people that are in your home, you need to be aware that you don't want them to have access to it.
Oh, yes, because like we talked about in the beginning, identity thieves are typically people that we know, and a lot of the times family members, folks who are living right in our houses.
Well, this seems like a really good place to segue to talking about what to do if you actually become the victim of identity theft, whether it's you or your child.
Right.
Are there any ways, any indicators that will help you find out early on that you've been victimized?
Yeah, I think that people who are more apt to regularly be pulling their credit reports, they're going to know, more quickly than others.
That's a good place to start.
It's a great place to start.
Yeah.
Each of the three major credit reporting agencies are required by law to give each of us a free credit report every 12 months. So I can't stress enough how important it is. Pull those reports, check them, review them really carefully. Look for things, that maybe shouldn't be there. Is there an account that you didn't open? Has somebody, used your name to commit fraud, opened accounts, that kind of thing? And obviously not paid them, because they'll appear on your credit report. You also want to make sure, kind of conversely, that stuff is being reported accurately. So you want to make sure that your name is right.
So if you see something that's on there that isn't right,
exactly.
You need to
get it corrected. You need to contact the credit bureau and get it corrected. So I think pulling those reports, that's going to be the best way to know, the quickest way to know, if you've become a victim.
Where can you go to get the free credit report? From Experian, isn't it? Experian, TransUnion, and Equifax,
Exactly. And you can go to www.annualcreditreport.com. That's sort of a compilation website where you can get for all three of them. You can get the report from any or all of them from annualcreditreport.com, and it's absolutely free.
Well, are there any other warning signs beyond the ones that we've already discussed that can tell you that you've been a victim of identity theft?
Well, yeah, I think, it's just about noticing. If you get something in the mail, you get a bill, say, in the mail for an account that you didn't apply for, you can kind of know that maybe you've been a victim.
Something's wrong.
Exactly. If you're denied, say you do apply for something, a loan or a credit card or something like that, and you're denied for no apparent reason, then you should go and check your report and just make sure that, you haven't been a victim, nobody's opened accounts in your name, that kind of thing, and maybe not paid them. Here's the flip side of it, talking about mail. If you know that your bills come in at a certain time every month, and then they don't all of a sudden,
right?
You might have to think about it because you may have been a victim. One of the things that identity thieves do is put in change of address for our accounts. They reroute our mail. Exactly. So if your bills aren't coming, that's another way maybe that you can know that maybe something has happened.
Well, if you're suspicious, if you think there's a good chance you may have become an identity thief victim, what do you do?
Well, if you become a victim, the very first thing that you want to do is check your credit reports. You just want to get an idea of everything that's there, what's happened. You want to contact the credit reporting agencies straight away. Straight away, you want to let them know that a fraud alert needs to be placed on your credit report. And that fraud alert just notifies anybody looking at your credit report that you have been the victim of identity theft. And there may be things contained in here relating to that theft. So you definitely want to contact the bureaus. And you only have to contact one of the credit bureaus.
And then they contact the other two.
That's exactly right.
Oh,
they contact the other two. The other thing you want to do is file something called an identity theft report. You want to compile an identity theft report because that's going to, again, help with accounts that have been opened fraudulently, getting those things disputed and removed, that sort of thing.
Where do you get that?
Sure. You want to go to the FTC's site. It's www.ftc, the Federal Trade Commission, ftc.gov. And on there, you want to fill out something called a complaint affidavit. And it's going to take you through. It's a very simple process, but it'll allow you to put all the information together. And that way, all of it's compiled in that affidavit, in that report. And then the next thing you want to do is go to your local police station and file a police report, either your local police or the police where the theft occurred.
So that you have a record of what...
Exactly. You have a record of exactly what happened. You have that
report. And they can pursue it in case it happens to someone else.
Exactly right.
Those are all really good points. I have one last question here from one of our viewers, and he writes, I've read a lot about how to prevent identity theft, and I do take precautions. Is there any way to ensure that I'll never become a victim?
There is no surefire way to guard against you ever becoming a victim, but what you can do to kind of facilitate the process, you know, is really just take some precautions. If you're talking to people, you want to keep a record of who you spoke to and when, and their name and their phone number, and, you know, get written records of everything as much as you can. If you are a victim and you contact a creditor and they agree to, you know, erase debt and not charge anything, get that in writing. Get them to send you a letter that confirms that.
And also, on the flip side of that, as far as preventing identity theft, it seems like the more measures you take, the better chance you have of avoiding being in that situation.
Exactly. The more secure you keep things, the more, you know, of a handle and a lid that you keep on your sensitive data. Exactly. And you're watching. You understand what's happening around you. The more you do that, the less likely, you know, it is that you're going to be a victim. You're right.
Does CCCS have any special resources available for people who want to learn more about identity theft?
Absolutely, absolutely. Our website, I love it so much, at cccs-inc.org. Viewers can go there, go to our resource section, our education section. There's all kinds of e-learning courses about dealing with identity theft, preventing it, you know, managing what to do if you become a victim. All of that information is right there on the site, and it's in more detail. It's very, very extensive, and it certainly would pay to look at some of it.
Oh, that's excellent. And how can they reach you in the case that we have people that have financial problems or housing issues and need counseling? What do they do?
Call our trusty 800 number, 1-800-642-2227. They can make an appointment to speak with a counselor over the phone or go in face-to-face, or even do a counseling session immediately. If they have time and a counselor is available, they can definitely reach us up until 9 o'clock in the evening. Oh,
that's wonderful, Deanna. Well, as usual, you've given us so much to think about and so many good ideas. Thank you so much for being here.
Oh, thank you for having me. It's my pleasure.
And thank you, PAC 14, for giving us this opportunity to make people more aware. Hope all of you stay safe out there. Stay away from being identity thief victims.
Right.
Take those measures. And I hope you'll see us again next time on Money Talks.
Would you like to see your community organization or nonprofit group featured on PAC 14? To get started, contact us at 410-677-5014 or visit our website at www.pac14.org. PAC 14 is a great way to connect with your community.